Disclaimer: the following podcast contains material and language of a strong sexual nature that may not be suitable for minors. While not in every episode, this podcast may contain triggering subject matter that may be brought up without warning. Any information or advice given is for entertainment purposes only. We are not doctors. Please consult your physician with any medical questions or before making any decisions regarding your health. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
Welcome back, loyal listeners, and well, we've got a bit of an audible this week. I know we promised you our show on breakups, but something came up that was just too good to pass up.
It was.
We have the chance to take you into and learn all about the ins and outs of sex toys, sex shops, and the adult pleasure industry.
Woo-hoo!
And we have a special guest this week, and to introduce her, I'm going to pitch it to my co-host, Sarah. Sarah, take it away.
Hello. Okay, so I have the absolute pleasure of being friends with a wonderful person that I met through an online forum called FetLife, which some of you may be familiar with. So this is Bailey. Bailey, say hi.
Hello.
Tell us something about yourself.
About myself personally or about my career?
Well,
Let's do
okay,
both.
well,
Why not both?
yeah. Let's
First
start with
one, then the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am a 23-year-old woman living in Connecticut with my long-term boyfriend. I work in a sex shop, as they said. I am a Leo. I have a very long-standing history with everything regarding sex, from its health to its conditions to its health conditions. So,
awesome.
So, I mean, that might lead into my first question about sex shops is, did you seek to work at a sex shop, or were you just like happened to see a sign in the door? Or how did you get employed?
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Go to work in a sex shop?
In my case, it was actually almost accidental getting the job at the store, because I had actually been working for a restaurant at the time and I was looking to get out of it. And I was just wondering what I was going to do for money, because like nowhere was hiring near me. And then I decided I was going to start a cam show. So we actually went to that store looking for props.
Nice.
And
So yeah, this was like a proto OnlyFans type of situation.
it was gonna be like for feet and for shoes and stuff, and like foot lingerie and shit like that.
Okay.
And so I was gonna start doing something like that to bring in some extra income. And then I saw the hiring sign in the door, and I was like, I'm gonna shoot my shot. Why not? And so I grabbed an application. I talked to the manager, and I think it was like a week later I got the job there, and it was pretty awesome. I never had to make the cam show, but I kept it.
So yeah, so you were absolutely sexually minded before you walked into the industry. Then apparently, right?
All day, goddamn, every day.
Okay, so wait, I have a question about the feet.
What's up?
So is that a fetish of yours?
No, actually, I personally do not have a foot fetish, but I do own a lot of giant high heels.
Okay.
So I figured I'd put them to use.
Okay, all right.
I was gonna do videos of like wearing gigantic hooker heels and stepping on gummy bears. So
okay,
very popular popular videos, oddly enough.
I know, right? I still might. Who knows?
Porn? Stomp porn? What's it called?
It's a very niche market.
Yes. As long as no actual live animals were injured during the making of them.
Oh god, no. I didn't even have a cat at the time. I had cactuses, and I don't really think that would have been very comfortable.
No.
Ooh, yeah.
Not cactuses, though.
But yeah, so that's actually how I got the job there.
Nice.
So let's try and bust a stereotype. It's not just all guys in trench coats walking into these type of shops now, is it?
It 100% is, Seth.
No, it is not, actually. Okay, a majority of the customers that we get in my store is old men. I'm talking like 70s and 80s. We get college students, or we get crazy people.
Okay, so I'm going to actually back it up just a little bit, because I know that laws differ state to state, county to county. as to what is legal in a sex shop and what isn't. So I know depending on where you're at, it may be legal to have, lingerie on display, but anything other than that has to be behind, black curtains, things like of that nature. And then in some places you can have glory holes. So it
Oh
just
goodness.
depends. So
Um,
tell us about your shop.
I well, I'm not saying the name of the shop, so I guess I can talk about it. But basically, in the back of our store, there are theaters. They're not sex rooms or anything like that, although people do still use them for such. It's basically just there's a couch, a table, some stools, and TVs where we just play like 400 different porn movies all day, every day,
Okay.
24/7.
So this is just an area people can go back, watch porn, and jerk off.
Basically, that's what it's mostly used
Okay.
for. Unfortunately, we do still get people who think that it's a sex club and they come in and they send out ads for like gangbangs and shit. And it's honestly annoying because we're the ones that have to clean up after it.
That's gross.
So
It's very gross.
do you actively try and stop either the solo or the group people?
We
Or like,
usually we usually realize that something's going on when there's people in the waiting room because there's never people in the waiting room. So we usually
mm,
ask them, we're just like, "So what you here for?" And they're like, "Well, I saw an ad." And we're just like, "Okay, well, leave because we're not doing that." Because it's mostly just because it's unsanitary,
Well,
and
of
yeah.
course.
we're not a sex club, like we're a sex store.
Well, and that's
Hmm.
something that really needs to be taken into consideration is the
Hmm.
hygiene. And there's a reason. I mean, it's not just morals and ethics that
No, I.
these laws are in place. I mean, yes, in most cases they are, but
Hmm.
strip clubs have rules
Yeah,
that,
like
the things have to be wiped down, things have to be sanitized.
yeah, like I couldn't
Um,
give a shit less if you have like a exhibitionist fetish, but like there's places to do that, like your house or a
exactly.
motel.
Well, or a club that is specifically for that, that has a health department person coming through, making sure that,
Hmm.
things, they're using the right chemicals to clean that are going to be good for cleaning up bodily fluids.
Yeah,
You might not have the right products
exactly.
to do that. So
Usually we end up
it's
just pouring bleach on the floor. So,
right.
Oh,
but yeah, it's that so that's what's in the back of the store. The rest of the store is very open, very brightly lit.
Okay.
There's mirrors everywhere, and there's mannequins and statues. But
Nice.
lingerie is always on full display. Everything in the store is on full display.
Okay.
so
So
I will
like
ask.
no
Yeah.
children are allowed in the store, regardless of whether or not they have a parent with them.
Is that under 18 or under 21?
Any child under the age of 18 cannot enter our
18.
store.
Okay.
So about the mirrors, is that for you guys to check for shoplifting, or is that for aesthetic?
I'd say both, honestly, because the
Mm,
mirrors do kind of help us realize who's coming into the store,
yeah,
and also it kind of helps us kind of keep an eye on people while we're sitting at the front desk.
yeah. Because every shop I've ever been to had the mirrors everywhere, so
Hmm.
it's got to be for a reason.
Yeah, a lot of it is still for aesthetics though, because a lot of people
Mm.
like to like a lot of people like to take on like the strap-on harnesses and kind of see them on themselves real quick. Just it's basically like browsing for clothes in a way, or like with the lingerie piece, they want to just kind of
S-
look at themselves in the mirror with it real quick.
So
That's fair.
kind of playing off of that, what is one piece or several pieces, if you'd like, of store etiquette that you'd love to pass on to people?
Can I say the C word in the podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay, rule one going into a sex shop: don't be a cunt, because we deal with a lot of people. We deal with all sorts of different types of people. In fact, I would say we deal with worse people, because there's a difference between working in a normal retail store and dealing with a disgruntled customer and working in a store that is centered around hormones and just like lust. And lust can make people do some weird shit. So if you come into one of these stores, usually the workers are on their guard because we don't know if you're going to pull out a fucking knife. So it's just don't be a cunt, because we're usually more willing to help you.
And not a lot of other businesses have crazy church people out front protesting.
That's
We
also
actually don't
true.
get crazy church people out protesting. That's the
Oh,
funny part. We
I
get
will tell you a story about that later.
please do. But we get old ladies who come in looking to spice up their marriage who tell us to watch our language even though we're not a family friendly store. Uh I got this one old lady who told me to use the word dong instead of dick. Um a gentleman asked me not to use the term pocket pussy because it made him uncomfortable. But like it's just don't be an asshole when you go into the store.
Right.
Another
Yeah.
piece of etiquette I would say is if you're when you're walking around the store, I understand that you may be nervous, you may not be used to this sort of thing, but if all you can do is loudly giggle at everything you see, maybe you need a little more time before coming into the store because it's just a little unprofessional. Because we try to keep up a very professional front when we're working here
Sure.
because you
Hmm.
have to. Because like it's
Yeah.
there's not a party all the time, party every day. It's
No.
we are selling sexual objects. We need to keep up an air of professionalism and
I
classiness.
I've always had, great conversations with people in shops, and they've always been very helpful. So I get where you're coming from saying they're professionals 'cause they don't really just hire anybody. It's not 7-Eleven,
No,
it's
they
not
really don't.
Walmart.
When it
I don't
comes
know.
to
I've been in a couple of shops where that's been pretty questionable.
Oh, that's that again. That's unfortunate.
Oh
But
no, it was very unfortunate.
then again, we are in BFE, so there is that.
Yeah. I'll share with you later what shops it was and you tell me whether or not you're surprised.
okay, but yeah,
So,
like just areas of etiquette when it comes to coming into the store. If you need help looking for something or if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, don't waste your time trying to find it because we can tell you exactly where it is. If you don't want us to follow you, that's fine.
mhm.
We won't follow you. But
See,
we will
I'm
tell you
yeah.
exactly where it is.
In that respect, I think I'm more of the bullheaded man. Is like I want to find it. I don't want to ask directions.
And that's perfectly fine. But like a lot of times it's going to end up being, no, I think we can handle it. And then they walk around the store for about 20 minutes and then they finally come up to the front desk like, okay, where's the thingy? And then we're just like, it's right behind you.
I could see that being very frustrating.
All right, so I'm going to throw this out there and this is me playing devil's advocate because this is
Okay.
what I do.
Yeah, of
All
course.
right. So, um in my profession, I tend to work with um a crowd who have difficulty uh, advocating for themselves.
Hmm.
And so that's a big part of my job is advocating for them. So
Okay.
in situations like this, I always find that I have to speak up and say like, "Okay, so when you have somebody come in who, maybe they're not comfortable walking up to a stranger and saying, you know, I'm looking for, I want a dildo that gyrates and vibrates and hits my G spot and waggles my clit at the same time."
Oh, see, I get you. I know where you're coming
Yeah.
from with that one.
So it's
Usually,
kind of like,
when that happens, a lot of times we can usually tell because a lot of times we like to keep an eye on customers just to make sure they're not lost or,
sure.
doing something stupid. So, a lot of times, if we see someone who like genuinely looks lost, we will gently walk up to them and we can be very quiet. One thing that I pride myself on is keeping discretion in conversation.
And I think that's where I was kind of going. Like,
Hmm.
I would assume in a professional environment, because you are a professional, so I can 100% see you doing this. Um, Seeing a customer walk in and observing that behavior and knowing that that's something that you have to do for them. You need to
Oh, yeah.
approach them quietly and discreetly and say, "Hey, what can I help you with? What are you looking for?" And not
Yeah.
just shout across the store like, "Hey, what are you looking for? You want a pussy? We got a pussy.
Pussy over here and pussy over there.
We
Yeah.
got pussies over here. We got ass over here. We got dicks on this side.
You want a mouth?
They
We've got
glow,
mouth.
they waggle."
but but yeah, a lot of it comes with reading people and trying to kind of like figure out what makes them tick so you can help them better. It's
I like
because
it.
even though
I like that.
even though it is a store based on sex, it is still like it's still retail and you're still trying to sell products, but you're also still working with people. You are a customer service agent no matter what. Customers come first. literally.
So I have a very random. Oh, I have a very random
We
question about
hope.
that.
If
We've
you don't,
spoken
you're not
on
doing your job.
we we've spoken on the show before about how Sarah and I are both in the medical field and dealt with
Mhm.
people getting stuck in various
Oh
places.
God.
Oh
Yeah,
goodness.
do people ever call the store or come into the store before seeking medical help with that kind of thing?
Oh,
Oh,
I've
I
only
bet they
dealt with
do.
one.
I'm
I've only dealt with
sorry.
one. This person didn't realize that the bullet vibrator that they were using was not an anal toy because it didn't have a string attached to it. The unfortunate part about it was they couldn't turn it off.
Oh.
Oh, that's so. Oh no.
So they call the store and I just answer. I'm just like, such and such, this is Bailey. And they're just like, I have a problem. I'm like, oh, okay, what's the problem? And they'll tell me the whole situation and I'm just like, okay, have you called your doctor or an ambulance? He's
I
like,
don't want to do that.
but the problem is that the question that they had was, can I get a refund?
Oh
And
God.
the answer to said question was no.
No. Oh no, you weren't.
So
So I mean, yeah,
sometimes people do end up calling us, but we usually just tell them, I'm sorry, there's not really a whole lot I can do about that. You're going to have to go to the hospital.
And then they come to us.
And then they
yes,
come to you guys, and you guys get to deal with it.
yes.
And yeah.
I'm
And
just
then
a
we take
So
deflector.
pictures.
is the general rule that once the box is opened, it's theirs are forever, or is it once it's
Yes.
used? Okay,
Our
that's fair.
general rule in our store is no refunds, no exchanges, no questions. So
Mm,
basically, the second they leave the store, it's theirs. It's their problem. But the thing that we usually do to try to keep the satisfaction with it is that we will test the toy for them in front of them.
I was just gonna ask that because anytime I've bought a toy, that requires batteries or anything, they
Mhm.
always take it out of the package, put a battery in
Yeah.
it, turn it on, make sure all the gizmos work, and then hand it over.
Yeah, we will test it for them because the thing about it is that a lot of times it's gross, but a lot of times people will start using the toy the second they get into their car.
Oh.
So
not surprising.
No.
so yeah,
No.
so that's kind of why
Why?
we do the whole no refunds once it leaves the store. Like if they
Oh
buy
God.
it and then if we forget to test it and they buy it and then they're just like, "Oh, can I get this tested real quick?" and it's broken, we'll be like, "Oh, let me grab you a different one. I'm sorry. We'll just take care of this one." We don't have to do a whole like refund exchange or anything like that. We just go grab them a different toy.
Yeah, that's
But
probably
once they leave the store, we don't know what's been done to that toy since it's been out of our
right.
sight. So it's a
That's
matter of
fair.
safety, it's a matter of biohazard. It's just a matter of just you get it.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay, so
how
I'm gonna
often?
just jump in here and be like, okay, hey listeners, here's the deal. If you're gonna put something in your body, in an orifice, whether it's in your mouth, if it's in your vagina, if it's in your ass, anywhere, in an orifice, wash it. Wash it
Please wash
first.
it. The
They
best way
make
to
clean.
wash
Yeah.
it, the best way to wash it is either with a toy cleaner or
Mhm.
with which most stores will sell. The best way to wash them is with
Mhm.
toy cleaner, spritz them down, let them soak for a little bit, and then rinse them off with warm water. Or just a very light antibacterial Dawn dish soap and warm water.
Mhm. Now, what do you think about
Okay.
dishwashers?
The only toys that are dishwasher safe are glass, metal, and plastic.
Silicone's not?
Not if it vibrates.
Well, no, yeah. If it's got electrical components, no.
It's like, why won't my toy turn on? It's a vibrator. Probably because you ran it through a fucking water machine. That might have something to do with it.
So
But
Maybe, maybe.
okay, but that's a good question that I should ask too. Material wise, what do you think is the best? Is it truly to each their own?
ooh, um, I have a personal preference. Personally, a lot of people tend to really enjoy the hard silicone. Most people here's what I've noticed. When like a college student just turned 18 usually buys their first toy, a lot of times they'll get this thing that looks the softest. And they'll end up getting that jelly toy.
Yeah.
The one that's like the clear rubbery jelly shit covered in
Yep.
lube for some reason. But they'll buy that. That's usually their first toy. and then it melts and they don't know why, so they come in and they try to buy something better, and that better thing is usually the solid silicone, because it's smooth, it's very nice, it's very easy to clean. As long as you're using a water-based lubricant with it, it will not degrade.
Yes.
But
Very important.
my personal favorite toys to use are glass and metal, just
Mhm.
because they're extremely easy to use, or they're extremely easy to use, extremely easy to clean. I like the cold feeling personally.
You're a
And
temperature person?
what now?
You're a temperature person?
I'm a temperature person. I like the cool
Yeah.
feeling.
Oh, I am too. Don't get me wrong. I totally am when
Because
it comes to toys.
like when you're hot and bothered, you're hot for a reason. So I like the feeling of the temperature down there when it's cold. But when it comes to vibration toys, it's got to be silicone. I can't do anything that's made of plastic, because it's just
Mm-mm.
it there's 8,000 nerve endings on the end of the clitoris. And hard plastic vibrating against that is not exactly a pleasant feeling.
No,
It
it is
can turn
not.
very painful very fast. Soft silicone is usually your best way to go for that one.
Yeah.
That's just for me when it comes to like personal preference, as well as what would usually work better for you.
Hmm.
But a lot of women have surprised me. Some women actually really love the painful vibrations of plastic against clit.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to ask next. Is like how successful are you or good are you at reading your customers, be it men, women, or somewhere in between? Are you pretty good at figuring out what they want or what they're going to like?
I would say I'm pretty decent. I've become a lot more evolved as a salesman, because I can usually get to the point where I can question them enough, or if I can make them laugh. That's my selling point. Like some of my coworkers, one coworker kind of uses her sexuality to relate to her customers and get them to buy the thingy. Another one of my coworkers likes to use a form of intimidation, but it works. But, like, he's friendly about it. It's like this weird friendly, "You're gonna buy this." "Okay,
Like, fucking buy this.
fucking buy it." But, my biggest
It
goal
would work
is,
for me.
yeah,
It would work on me
exactly.
100%.
The way
I would
that
walk in
I
and he would be like,
sell
"Fucking buy this," and I'd be like, "Okay."
the way that I sell things is I make the customer laugh. If I could start a whole conversation with them, tell them a personal story, tell them a little anecdote, and then just get them laughing, then I know I've got them, and I know that they'll talk to me, because I've created that area of trust, that this person's not going to hurt me, they're not going to sell me some shit, they're going to help me. So once I have that, I can start talking to them and I can figure out basically exactly what they need. A lot of times I can figure it out on the very first thing they give to me. Like, one guy walks in and he's like, "I want something for my wife. We've been together for such and such this many years. She's never had a toy before." The second they say that, I'm just like, "Oh, you need this." Because, like, I'll usually get something for people who've never had a toy before in their life. I'll have to get something that has a light vibration. Because if you've never felt a vibration against your clit and you just go in all forces gunning with like a Hitachi wand, you're gonna die.
I would think so. I would think so.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be great. So usually I would suggest like a small bullet, or just like a very soft silicone, a squishy one, because you always want something that's going to be gentle. You want to baby step your way up the toy ladder.
Oh, that's
So
that's fair.
I'd say that I'm usually pretty good at selling to pretty much anybody. I tend to have a lot more luck with men.
That was gonna be my next question is do men deal with women better or with men better? And vice versa, do women deal with women better or with men? So,
A lot of times when it comes to us in the store, a lot of men, unless one of my male coworkers is there, the men actually really enjoy talking to us ladies, because they feel like we'll know exactly what they're talking about, because we deal with dicks a lot. So a lot of times, for me to sell something to a man, the easiest thing for me to sell to a man is a pump or a cock ring.
are pumps, do they really do anything?
Okay, so here's the thing about penis pumps. If you get a good one, that right there is the biggest depending factor. If you get a good one,
Hmm.
it will feel like the best blowjob you've ever had in your life. I would suggest getting one that you personally can control the pressure and the pump of. Getting the ones that are just automatic suction. that will hurt if you're not used to it. You got to start with one that you can just do like a hand pump.
Yeah, I've heard horror
Okay.
stories about those automatic ones.
Yeah. If you use them for about an hour or so a day, or like at least 6 hours a week, you actually can make your penis grow a size or two. That actually is a fact. However, if you use it too much, your dick will bend.
And
Now,
some
when
guys
you
have that
say
problem
grow,
already.
Yes, I had a guy try to whip his dick out to show me how bad his dick bended, and I was like, I believe you. So
So
maybe you
Sarah
don't
just
want to try
said,
it
yeah.
out.
Sarah just said, like, when you mean grow, is this a permanent addition or is this temporary as long as you keep using the pump?
I think
As long
you
as
have
you
to
keep
keep
using the
using
pump,
it.
it's pretty permanent.
Yeah, because it's like swelling.
Basically, exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah. Because
personally
once you
don't know the
stop
exact
using it, the
science of it
swelling
because I'm not
goes
like a
away.
biologist,
Yeah.
but
I think it has to do with inflammation in the tissue, essentially, because what you're doing when you use the pump is you're forcing blood into the capillaries, into the penis, and you're holding it there.
exactly.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
But back to what I was saying. I usually have better luck selling a man a pump or a cock ring or sometimes even a man thong.
Hmm.
Whereas my male counterparts will have way better luck than I ever will by selling the guy a pocket pussy or a masturbator. Because I don't know what it's like to stick my dick into something because I don't have one.
Hmm.
Sure.
My male coworkers do. They know exactly what it feels like, so they know exactly what this guy will want.
That's
So,
very enlightening.
yeah. So honestly, like if you're a gentleman and you're going into a store and there's ladies working there, don't be afraid to talk to them because
Okay.
they're not going to find it sexual. Because here's the thing. I walk into the store every single day and I see a wall full of dicks, and the way I am nowadays, unless I have bought one of those dildos, to me, it's like selling a car. It's just another product.
Sure.
That's basically exactly what it becomes. It doesn't become a sexual nature. We get a lot of customers who come in, they're just be like, "You probably have a lot of fun working here, don't you?" I've actually had one guy ask me if I'm horny every day because I work at a sex store, and I just go, "No, I'm pretty much selling cars at this point."
Yeah. So that, I mean,
It's
that
like
was
working in a pizza
again.
parlor.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you must love working here because you eat pizza every day. It's like, no, I fucking hate it because I smell like pizza. I smell like cheese. I eat pizza all the time. No, I hate it. I will never eat pizza again.
Exactly.
Not that Bailey hates her job.
No,
No, no,
I
no,
absolutely
no,
adore
no,
my
not at
job.
all.
I could honestly
So
couldn't have asked for a better job,
you
honestly.
touch you touched on it briefly. How often are you hit on? How often is some guy like, "Hey, want to try this out?"
On a
I mean,
daily goddamn basis. And the thing is I wouldn't consider myself like a stone cold attractive woman, but I think the thing is
You're
that it's
gorgeous. Shut up.
oh, I thank you. I think it's the excitement that gets to them, and
Well,
they shoot
sure.
their shot. But like, yeah, I get hit on a daily basis. A lot of times it's very friendly. Sometimes it's just that cute flirting that usually comes with any job that I've ever worked.
Well,
But
and let's also, you hit the nail on the head earlier when you were talking about the fact that, people who are in there, you've got hormones flying,
exactly.
lust. It's a big thing.
You've got fucking endorphins running through your brain telling you to do stupid shit, so you're gonna do stupid shit.
Hell yes.
Buy that dildo, hit on that woman, stare at her tits. Why not? But
Exactly.
and that's usually what people end up doing for me. But I've had a customer tell me that he can steal me from my boyfriend by the very sight of his penis, which he tried to prove to me, and I had to pull out a crowbar and tell him to leave.
Here's the
Um,
thing, guys, I don't care how beautiful your dick is. The side of your dick. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, Bailey. But I don't care how beautiful a dick is. The side of your dick is not going to make me leave my partner.
exactly. It's for me. It's I don't care how beautiful you think your dick is. I guarantee you, we sell better ones.
Right.
okay, and that
Exactly.
okay. So
Exactly.
that was again. You were having such great segues, Bailey, to my next point every
Isn't
time.
she amazing? I told you she
Yeah.
was
Thank
amazing.
you.
So my next point was going to be, and this is something that I was guilty of, and I'm sure something you deal with a lot is the intimidation factor for men. Because I used to be like one of my partners loved to use toys in the bedroom, and at first I was
Mhm.
like, I'm not enough. What is this? I was really pissed off about it. Now later I realized how awesome it was to incorporate a toy into
Mhm.
lovemaking. So I was totally fine with it and encouraged it. But for the longest time, for almost a year, I was like, "Ah, why though? Why do you have to have that? I'm right here."
And Seth,
So
you're absolutely right. So my current partner, it took a few years into our relationship before he was comfortable even adding like a wand. Not even a dildo, just a wand
My boyfriend
into
came
the
in with the
bedroom.
toys. He's like, I've got
I mean, not
this,
good.
gonna
I've got
lie,
this,
I'm a
I've got
little
this.
jealous. I'm a little jealous. I wish that
You
he needs
yeah,
to talk to my partner and just be like, "Hey, look, guy,
you've
we need to talk."
you've got you
So
a good one there, Bailey.
I do. So let me go off of that real quick, Seth. There is a very unfortunate social stigma that comes from the idea that if you're in a relationship, your bodies need to be enough. Here's the thing about that. Some women require G-spot stimulation, some women require clitoral stimulation. If you are unable to stimulate your woman sexually, you should not be ashamed of that because there's toys for that. That's what they're made for. They are made not only for masturbation, they are made for couples. A lot of
Mhm.
times when a couple comes into the store, it is because they are trying something new or one of them is not capable of achieving something for the other. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Everybody's body is
Mm-mm.
different. Fuck,
And
I barely truly understand my own anatomy. I understand how to pleasure it. I understand how to clean it. But I'm not a biologist. So a lot of times it comes with the idea that we're supposed to be shamed by the idea that we can't do a certain thing that pleases our partners when in reality it is so easy to fix that
it is.
problem. There
And it was
this
such a
this stigma should not exist.
and I was so happy to get over it because it really
Yeah.
fulfilled the rest of that relationship. That was like
We
the sex
get
was so much better because
Mhm.
we incorporated the
mhm
toys. And it's not like the toys were an every time thing either. There were still times we
like
had normal sex, but then there was times where
yeah,
we used 2 or 3 toys in the session and it was awesome.
we get a lot of couples that come in, or not really couples. We get a bunch of men that like to come in and they say that they're in there to buy a dildo for their wife or their girlfriend. And I'll try to help them find a good one, and they are always either not wanting one that has balls
Hmm.
or they don't want one that's very big. They refuse to get one that's bigger than them. And the
Mhm.
thing about that is, while I do understand they can be, I wouldn't say intimidated, but I would say a little jealous that
Yeah.
she wants to use that instead of them. I try to appease them and I say it has less to do with the size and more of how you're using it and where she's putting it.
Right.
So on that subject, does race ever play into that? Like, do you ever suggest like a big black dildo to a guy, and he's like, do you have any white ones?"
Oh goodness, no. No,
Oh,
Oh,
good.
good.
That makes me happy.
no,
Yeah.
that actually never happens. I have
That's outstanding.
honestly, funnily enough, the only racism I've ever dealt with in my store is a woman called me a wop. But I'm a
Wow.
Sicilian woman for anybody who didn't realize that. But other than that, there's really no racism in the store. People like what they like. A lot of times, the large Afro American dildos that we do sell are often sold to homosexual men, white
Okay.
normally. But
Interesting.
it has really nothing to do with color, more to do with aesthetic at that point.
Sure.
So what are your thoughts on the novelty toys, like the ones that have like a dolphin on them, or like some alien? Or I
Oh
saw one that
goodness.
was like I saw one that was an Olive Garden breadstick. So
I
Oh
was
gosh.
hoping you were going to ask me that. I want to tell you about certain toys we have at the store. For the longest time, we had a dildo that had a handle on it that was modeled after a 45 revolver, and you turned it on by pressing the trigger. It had thrust action as well as a very loud vibration, and we loved it. We've sold out of them recently. We also had a micro industrial fuck machine one that you clamp to the floor and squat over it, and it will thrust by itself, and it's great. We
Nice.
have ones that are in the shapes of dolphins. We have ones that are in the shape of fingers. Uh, we have a lot of weird shit in the store. We have ones that are called butterflies, which generally when someone is talking about a sex toy and they use the term butterfly, what they mean is a vibrator that they can strap to their thighs and wear. But we have one in the shape of a starfish, and it's adorable. We also do have a dildo that looks like an alien dick.
Okay.
Straight up. It has tentacles on it. It
Sure.
has these weird little ribbed prongs on it. The only downside of this toy is that it's made of the jelly shit that I don't like.
Oh.
But like,
Now, do you sell the like the ovulator ones?
what do you mean?
The ovulator dildos, the ones that will like implant eggs.
No, we don't sell those.
Okay.
So
A
so
little
you
too
talk about
high
how
tech.
yeah. You
I
talk
kind of want
about
to try
how the
them.
things look. Would you ever buy one just to have it because it looks cool, or does it have to be functional for you?
Um, when it comes to me personally buying toys,
Hmm.
for me, I usually need function over form.
Hmm.
I require very strong vibration because I mostly require clitoral stimulation. But
Okay.
Same girl.
I'm basically like training myself to do G-spot and clitoral.
Mm.
And so far they're the best orgasms I've ever had in my life, let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. See,
But
I
like
asked that big. Yeah.
I actually do have a couple weird shaped toys
Yeah.
and that I use and I love them.
I bought one that was just strictly for aesthetic purposes. I was never going to use it because I don't hate people that much. But remember those Hulk can? Do you remember those Hulk cans that they had when the Hulk movie came out?
Oh
Yeah.
no.
There was a shop that I went to that had just giant green hands that were for. I'm like,
Fisting? They
yeah,
were
I'm never
for
going.
fisting play?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they were at least 2.5 times the size of my fist. So
We
it's like I'm
have
never. Yeah,
we have a Hulk dick and a Spider-Man dick at our
yeah.
store.
It's like I'm never going to use these, but they're going to be cool to look at. You know.
We actually also have one that I want, and it is a dildo attached to an exercise ball so that you can just bounce on it. It's amazing.
Mm.
I want one of those
So I'm
because
not gonna lie, that would
it's
actually be a really good
exercise.
workout. Yeah, for your thighs.
Like, what you doing? I'm getting a fucking core workout. What are you doing?
Right.
I'm
So
I
working out
mean,
and working
yeah.
myself.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's incentive
yeah,
right
Exactly.
there. Yeah.
what is something about the stores or toys in general that you wish people knew more about?
Ooh, that's a
Because
very
I
good
mean,
question.
my thing is like I wish people knew more about the remote type of sex toys, like the ones you could control,
We
because then
actually get
like
a
long,
lot of people coming in
yeah,
looking for those specifically.
because then it kind of makes long distance a bit easier in my
Okay,
experience.
there is one thing that I would like to
Yeah.
throw out there. I wish people knew more about the fact that when it comes to sex toys, you will get what you pay for.
Okay.
So, by that, what I mean is if you go into a sex store and you're only looking to spend $20, you are only going to get $20 worth out of whatever it is that you buy. Now, we don't have any toys in our store that are less than $15, and there's a reason for that. We don't want to sell people shit. But a lot of times we try to stray people away from those because they're usually made bad quality, the batteries don't work, or they're just generally shit products in general. But
So that's a lot of the stuff you find online for really cheap too. That just you should suspect that it's not going to be of the best quality.
I actually tell people to stay away from buying toys on certain websites. I'm not going to say exactly which website, but it is a popular shopping website. Um, do not buy toys on that website because I have learned that they take returns and then clean and resell.
Oh, that is horrible.
Yeah, so I usually tell people to try to stray away from at least the big websites. Go to the websites that no one's ever heard of, because I guarantee you their products are brand new.
So I know that you said that it's only adults allowed in your store, 18 and up, but what do you think is
Hmm.
too young to actually just own a toy?
Oh, that's a good question.
Ooh, I owned my first actual toy
Hmm.
at 18 years old.
Wow.
Now, I started masturbating at 16. I was a late bloomer. And I wish that I had had something, because what I was trying to use were small paint bottles, a very thin wiffle ball bat that just didn't end up working out at all,
Mm-hmm.
or I ended up finding as thin of shampoo bottles as I could find.
See, yeah,
And
because
Okay,
it
so
was dangerous, and I didn't
uh,
realize that what I was doing was extremely dangerous.
all right,
But
I'm just going to interject here real
go ahead.
fast. So you both have brought up an amazing point
Hmm.
and something that I'm going to soapbox here for a second.
Hmm.
And you know that I love to do this, so I'm just going to do it real fast.
It's fine.
Okay. I am on a lot of different websites. I'm on different groups.
Hmm.
I'm in different areas of people, different types of people, demographics. And one thing that I see over all of them, same thing, is mothers especially talking about their daughters and their sons and whether or not in the mid to early teenage years it's okay for them to have sex toys. And that's because
Mm.
at that age they're starting to experiment with masturbation. And it's two very different lines of thinking. Of course, you get the ones that are like, "No, no, no, because if you give it to them, you're encouraging it."
well,
And
Oh,
why
the
is that a
other
bad thing?
the other ones who are saying, "But if you don't give it to them, they're gonna do it anyway, and they're gonna do it wrong."
hmm.
Like
I
Bailey was just giving examples of, because I did the same thing,
let me tell you
and
real quick.
everyone else I know did too.
Let me tell you about my sad journey into discovering my own body. I didn't discover my clitoris until I was 17,
Same girl.
because I was just kind of fucking around down there. I didn't understand how it all worked. I didn't realize that I had broken my hymen when I was horseback riding at 11 years old.
Horseback riding.
Hmm.
See?
So,
Good call.
yeah, I heard your guys' podcasts, like the last two ones, talk about the hymen, and I was like, fucking thank you. Someone
Yeah.
brought it up.
Mhm.
But like I didn't lose my virginity until I was 18 years old, but I broke my hymen at 11.
Right.
Hmm.
So, but like I personally wish that I had at least had a vibrator. I Going off of what you asked, Sarah, my personal opinion is that if you're going to give, I can only speak from the perspective of a girl, so I'm not going to bring up what should be best for boys because I'm not one. But as a woman, I would have loved to have had something that vibrated, a safe product for me to use, so I could actually discover for myself what was happening down there.
Right.
Because how was I supposed to know that fingernails would hurt down there?
Mhm.
How was I supposed to know that if you get shampoo in a wrong place down there, it will sting like a bitch?
Well,
Like
not
shit,
just
shit
that,
like that.
but if
Like,
you're putting a bottle there
hmm,
that has a concave base,
exactly. It's not a great
suction,
thing.
people,
Suction.
suction, and it will get stuck.
I was trying. I would. There was times I was so needy for something to be down there, and I didn't understand why. I was trying to grab anything and everything I could find to do
Uh-huh.
something down there. So I think I think that at 16, a girl should be allowed to have a bullet vibrator. It's not shaped like a penis. There's nothing on it that can be truly suggestive, but it is a safe product for them to use for the specific purpose of not hurting themselves when they're journeying down there. And
Okay.
another thing, if you're a confused parent trying to figure out what's best to do for your kid, talk to your fucking kid,
Right.
please. I was
Exactly.
lucky enough to have open parents, but I was also too embarrassed to ask certain things like that. Because how do you look your dad in the eye and say, hey, daddy, how do I masturbate? But
Well, exactly.
be open with your children. They are humans. They need
Yeah.
to know these things or else they're going to get hurt.
These are conversations that people have to have with their kids,
Hmm.
because
See, yeah.
otherwise they're gonna do those things. They're gonna do dangerous things. They're gonna put things in their body that can get stuck and hurt them, that can puncture.
Yeah.
Um, that can tear, that can be caustic, to
Mhm.
the soft lining, of the inside of the vagina that can cause infections.
Exactly. And another thing that I didn't know as a kid was that if you are able to do insertion and stuff, like I finally found myself what I deem to be a suitable toy. Um, I didn't realize that after having, I'm just going to call it intercourse because I don't want to say penetration. After having intercourse with this toy, how was I supposed to know that I'm supposed to pee after that or else risk infection, which I ended up getting a UTI?
Well, sure.
You need to be willing to have these conversations with kids. Stop going online to public forums asking other mothers what they did, because more often than not, you're going to get someone who's going to tell you either not to do it or they're going to be misinformed. You need to
Mhm.
talk to your own kid, get them to try and tell you what it is that they are needing, and then just go get a bullet vibrator. Even if you have a boy, they can figure out something to do with that. It's the most harmless little toy.
Sure.
Well,
Or for a boy, buy him lubricant.
Buy a
I'm just
lubricant.
yeah, I just but hold
I
on, but Bailey has something very specific to say about lubricant. Buy him lube, but not.
Stop using KY. Stop using it.
it's garbage apparently, folks.
It
Don't buy
is
it.
it is absolute garbage,
I learned something new.
Yes.
because there's a reason that KY lubricant eventually starts getting that friction to it. It has sugars and additives. And a lot of times you don't want that shit down there. You don't
Yeah,
want
if
I
you're
don't want sugar on
you
my
don't want to be
vagina.
going at it, having a good time, and then suddenly get that friction, because friction is what you're trying to avoid. Hence why you're using lubricant. Get
And
you
you know what loves
something.
sugar?
What?
You know what loves sugar?
What?
Candida albicans,
That's a big
otherwise known
word.
as
I did not know
yeast.
that. Yeah, yeast loves sugar. It is
quit being
so
Loves
medical,
easy.
Sarah.
sugar.
It is so fucking easy to get an infection if you're using the wrong lubricant. Stop using KY. Try to find yourself something that is all natural, or at least a hybrid, or something that has no sugars or additives, because with those you'll never lose that slick. And a lot of times they can be so natural to the point where you can use them as a fucking hair treatment. They exist. Go look for the better
So
things.
I asked the whole question about age because this is another personal story that I'm going to tell real quick because I think it's hilarious. When my sister was 15, she asked my mother for one,
Mhm.
and she was perfectly fine with it. She did some research. They did it together, and they found out which one she would want or need. Then she went to the shop and got it. And I was sitting back there the whole time going, I think I was, God, 11 or 12 at the time. And I'm like, and now I see this is a great thing, exploring sexuality safely.
Mhm.
But being that kid, I was like, this is strange.
Yeah, like I personally believe that it is perfectly fine to get your kid, and I stress the word kid, but to get your teen a toy, because there is no old person attached to that toy. It's
Hmm.
just it's a soulless, harmless little product that is actually going to help them later on.
Well, and
So,
You're
you
not
make a very good
encouraging
point with
like
that.
you're not
yeah.
encouraging deviant behavior. You're encouraging a natural growth in how to do that behavior properly.
No, I know that
And
you're
you
going to
make a
bust my
very good
tia.
point with that because there's not somebody attached to that. So when they're
Exactly.
exploring their sexuality, they're exploring their sexuality. They're not getting
Mhm.
somebody else's
They're exploring what they like,
education.
what they know, and they're going to figure
Exactly.
out for themselves, okay, this is what I like. I prefer this part of my body to be touched the most. I'll be sure to
Mhm.
communicate that with my first partner.
Right.
That's
I think we keep interrupting you, Seth. I'm
that's
sorry.
okay.
It's
But
okay.
I know you're going to bust my chops for this, but I had to bring it up. Is that
Who?
Bailey, you're
Her or
gonna
me?
bust my chops for this.
Am I?
Bailey, you're gonna
Okay.
bust my chops. Yes, because I one thing that I still don't like about sex shops, even though I love going to
Mhm.
them, is that women have so many more options for toys than men do. I mean, I got the fleshlight, I got the flesh jack, and I've got pumps and all that kind of stuff. But you guys have this whole plethora of things that you could use. So it's
Mhm.
like, damn it, I want more toys for guys.
Okay. Real quick.
Mhm.
Any toy can be a toy for anybody. That's what I'm
True.
going to say there. When it comes to men, in the store that we have prostate massagers, we have masturbators of any shape and size you can fucking imagine. We have fetish items. We have sounding devices. We have cock rings, man
Do you not like
thongs, penis
sounding?
pumps. We have blowjob machines.
Mhm.
The thing is that the options for men have grown substantially, but you need to find the right store. Because you are correct. A lot of sex stores tend to push more towards women because women are the easier target for marketing. But
So yeah.
my store in particular has so many options for men. A lot of them do include pegging and sounding, but a lot of men are into that shit.
Oh yeah, and
So
I don't judge them for
it all
that.
depends on what you're looking for,
Yeah,
really.
I'm so happy that they enjoy it, but man, sounding is not something I'm into. So
Me neither, but
yeah.
who am I to judge what people are into?
So
But go ahead.
the real quick next question I had is: are people still buying physical porn, or do you guys mostly you just mostly sell toys now?
Our store is actually 90% DVDs,
Really?
and we sell a shitload of them.
Really?
Yeah,
It,
it's actually it's not people a lot of times buying it just coming in buying a movie for their own pleasure. A lot of times it's collectors who are coming in. They're older
Oh,
men.
that makes
yeah.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's older men coming in collecting from their favorite brand or from their favorite star or
Yeah, I could see
basically from
that.
their favorite studio, or it's older couples coming in wanting to watch one of those movies together, so they'll come in and buy like 8 DVDs to look through. A lot of times it can be a college student who doesn't have internet. It can really be anybody, but a lot of people actually do still buy physical porn.
Interesting.
Is that
I thought it
surprising
was
to
interesting
you?
too.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
was for when I first started. I was like, do people really buy these DVDs? And they were like, oh yeah. I was like, oh,
Because
wonderful.
I'll fully admit I don't think I've bought porn since like 2000. You
I
know.
have never once bought porn in my life.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
usually
don't think
stream the
I've
free
ever
shit
bought porn.
because I'm a broke bitch and I've got better things to spend my money on personally. But but
So,
yeah,
but
a lot of people will actually buy collector stuff, and a lot of the porn that we do sell is collectors items. We have stuff from the 30s. We have
No
older
shit.
films
oh,
like that. We have a movie called Eurosex, which is an old film. Um, we have comedies. We have the porn parodies of certain movies.
those would be
It's
the
Oh
only
my
thing I'd
god.
probably
Do you have
buy.
we have a Duck Dynasty
do
porn
you have
parody on DVD.
do you
Ugh.
have Lord of the G-string?
Do we have what?
Lord of the G-string?
Yes.
Oh my god.
That's
There
such
was, like, a
softcore
whole line of
bullshit,
them.
though.
No, no, no,
Yes,
there was, like, a whole line of them. It was, like, Lord of the
there was,
G-string, there was, like, the Spider Girl.
and the erotic witch.
Like
Yes.
we even
Oh my gosh, they
have
were the best.
we even
The
have
girls
the
who played
Melanson
in this were so
Studios.
funny.
We
Mm.
even have Melanson Studio DVDs.
Oh,
So if for anybody who doesn't know what Melanson Studios do, they do a lot of ass stuff. And I'm not just
so
talking anal sex. So that's mostly what they do.
do you ever have
Nice.
like in-store signings, or people come in and like push their wares in the store? Is it
No,
that not?
no, no, no. The only thing that we do in the store that's a little bit self-serving is the owner of our store's husband is an owner of a porn studio itself. So he tends to push a lot of our products, a lot of the company's products, which range mostly in masturbators, but also in a few different dildos.
Oh, cool.
Neat.
A lot of them modeled after our porn stars. So I guess you could say I
Ah,
do technically work for the sex industry.
well, even in the store, I would still say that you did.
Yeah, I
So,
do.
I mean,
I would say that.
before we get out of here, I'm going to share a hilarious, I think, porn store story. And
Oh,
if
please do.
Sarah has one too, then she can share one. But I'm gonna go first because I love this. A former partner of mine were at a store in a very very small country town. Like I'm surprised this place had a adult store. And we go in, we're chit chatting with the clerk as I always do because it's build a rapport. They're gonna help me out more if
Oh
I
yeah.
think if I build a rapport with them. And this very well-dressed woman comes in, and I knew from the start it was going to be trouble because like this is a very well-dressed biddy of a woman.
Oh Lord.
And she comes in and she throws her Bible on the counter. There's
Oh,
talking about
no.
hellfire and
Ugh.
damnation. And then she asks if she could pray over the store, and the guy's like, "Do whatever you want, and then you can leave." And she says this like Jimmy Swaggart, waving hands prayer over everybody, and she condemned me and my partner to hell, and then left. And I was like, okay, so I will take this dildo and this lube, and I want this dildo here. So hey, you know what? It
That's
was fun for a while.
fantastic.
It was one of the hand crank ones. It was really cool. I liked it a lot. All right, so Sarah, do you have any fun stories from Bailey's line of work before we get out of here for the day?
Yeah, I really don't. Well, I mean, okay,
She's done talking to me.
no,
I got what I wanted.
no,
Don't they all?
no, I mean, I really don't have. I've never had like a terrible experience, in a sex shop except for
I have.
the one time I was gonna say that I was telling you earlier, where I'm like, I don't know where they hire these people. Like, they need to do some kind of background. Like, have you ever had sex before? Because I walked in. Okay, so I had a bad experience.
Oh
I
no.
had vaginosis, if anyone is
Ooh.
familiar with it. It is a vaginal infection.
Mhm.
So
Oh, I've had it.
not super happy with it. It was not pleasant.
It's not pleasant at all.
So when it happened, the first thing I did was I threw away probably $300 worth of sex toys and determined that I was never going to use anything that was not made of glass, metal, or silicone again.
Mhm. Which is a generally
Because,
smart idea, regardless of whether or not you have an infection. Just saying.
well, exactly. Because I had the fun ones. I had all like the fun, silly stuff, and I
Mhm.
had things with feathers and leather and all that stuff, which is fine. And you clean it and you wash it and you do your
Mhm.
best. But, you try not to think too hard about all the little nooks and crannies and, you know, they're electronics and you can't sanitize them and you can't boil them and you can't do the things that get them really, really clean. And being a healthcare professional, that always kind of bothered me, but I kind of like put it in the back of my mind.
I
And
imagine as
then
healthcare professionals, you're kind of hypochondriacs.
Oh
also
God,
just a little
yes.
bit.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but so I'm gonna jump in real quick here. Like, everyone talks about now, like, oh, I wash my hands so much, or I use so much Purex or Germex. I'm like, I've been doing that for years now because I know how filthy you people are.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I
I don't.
have to fucking sanitize my hands after every time I touch cash at work because I know where their
Yeah,
fucking hands have been.
Yeah, boobs are not pockets.
yeah.
Boobs
Sleeves
are
are
not
not pockets.
pockets.
Boobs are not pockets. Socks are not pockets. Your
No,
fucking boxers are not pockets. If you
Oh.
ever hand
no.
me a 20 straight from your boxers again, I will cut them off.
All right, so Bailey, let's hear from the professional
I
the
wasn't
worst
done.
story that you have. Oh, you weren't
No,
done?
I wasn't done.
All right, fine. Go ahead, finish
I'm
your story.
so sorry,
No,
Sarah.
you're fine. No, because I trailed off. So anyway, so
Go
I
ahead,
was
Sarah.
throwing everything away. So I had to replace my toys. So I go
Mhm.
to the store and I'm like, okay, I need to replace toys. I need glass.
Mhm.
So I go and I'm like, I'm gonna get a glass dildo,
Yes.
which I've never bought before. So I go and
Never
I'm
get the
I'm
ribbed
looking around.
ones.
Did you say never get the ribbed ones?
No, because ribbed silicone and ribbed rubber, that's one thing. Ribbed glass fucking hurts
Um,
because it's a glassy bump. Eventually it will chafe. Personally,
yeah,
that's just
I'm
my
like,
personal
so the one
rule.
I got. So here's the funny thing. So I find one and I'm looking at it and it's like it's neat looking and it's a
Mhm.
little different and I'm talking to the guy and he's kind of just giving me half answers and wasn't being like super helpful. And at this point, I mean, this has been many years ago. I wasn't like I wasn't very very aware of the variety of sex toys
Mhm.
and how they all worked. So I eventually purchased this thing and I get it home and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I've never seen a dildo that looks like this before. So now I'm looking at it and I'm looking at my receipt and I'm looking at this and I'm looking at my receipt. And then I realized that's because it's an anal dildo. And I'm
Oh
like,
my goodness.
really matter.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to
Unless it
laugh.
works.
It
It
really
does it
doesn't
does what it's
matter.
supposed to. Yeah,
It
I
really
mean,
doesn't
a
matter.
hole is a hole.
'Cause fuck,
And
somebody will put a rabbit toy in their ass. It really doesn't
right.
matter if it's
And
anal or vaginal,
honestly,
'cause
it works for
technically it
me
can be
because the way
both.
it's angled, it hits my G spot just fine, which
Exactly.
works. So, um, but I'm just like, dude, like he had no clue, like none whatsoever. And
Unfortunately,
really,
there
I didn't
are
either, obviously, but
yeah,
I wasn't
unfortunately,
working
there
there.
are those stores that will have the employees that just do not care. And it's
Yeah,
unfortunate, but that's why you go to the better stores.
well,
That's
exactly.
Ah,
why you come to my store.
That's really
okay.
anywhere you
Well,
go. I mean, that's anywhere you go. Any business
Exactly.
is
There's
gonna
gonna
have
be the bad
employees.
ones, there's gonna be the good ones. We're the good one, technically, on our street.
Well, I'd love
so
to
as
say that
a
I
yeah,
would go to Connecticut, but it's kinda far.
I'm thinking of making the trip now. I mean, she's selling it really well.
That's what
Road
I do.
trip. Road
So
trip, and then
so
we
yes,
do a live
live.
show,
Yes.
live
So
from
let's
Connecticut.
yeah, let's go ahead and do it to the professional. What is the worst story that you have, and like just horrendous, like never again type of story that you have?
Uh, in regards to what? What I've had to clean up?
Customer
Who I've had to deal with?
who you had to deal with. Yes.
Okay.
Or situation.
I have 3. I'm going to tell you 2 of them very quickly, and then I'm going to
Okay.
tell you the 3rd one. The first one is we had an orgy in the back. Not we. I was unfortunately privy to listening to it because this bitch was loud. But there was an orgy in the back, and I'm the one who had to clean it up. And I found a shit covered condom in the trash can.
Delightful.
I know we need to get paid more for biohazard, but
Agreed.
but that one's easy. That's fine. I am so disillusioned to or desensitized to bodily fluids at this point in time. I have cleaned fast food bathrooms. You can't scare me at this point. But the second story that I'm going to tell very quickly is this gentleman comes into the store. He is wearing no shirt, no mask, a cowboy hat, ripped denim shorts that are peeking one of his testicles out, no socks, and large construction boots that are untied. Um, and the first thing he does is he walks out from the corner, stares directly at me, and the first thing he asks is, "Do you sell t-shirts?" And I say, "No, sir, we do not. I apologize. I'm going to have to ask you to leave, though. You need to be fully clothed and masked in our store." Decided not to mention to him that one of his testicles was, in fact, sticking out. Um, and then he gets a little upset with me. He's like, "Well, can I buy a piece of lingerie?" And I was like, "Sir, to be a customer in our store, to be able to buy something, you need to be fully clothed. I'm going to have to ask you to leave." So he rants a little bit and then he leaves. He comes back in. Now he's wearing a rainbow sweatshirt, of all things. And he starts screaming at me about how I was discriminating against his disability. And my response was, "What's your disability? The inability to find a shirt?" And he blamed me for the fact that his wife was wanting to leave him. His wife, by the way, was standing right behind me, staring daggers into his soul, trying
Oh
to
my
get him to
goodness.
stop screaming at me, but he wouldn't stop screaming. He kept saying he's going to send his lawyers after me. I haven't seen him since. That was months ago. So that was an experience. And then the very last one. This woman comes in. She's not wearing a mask. Her husband is. And I see her and I say, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but to be in our store, you need to wear a mask." And she just gives me this nod, like, okay. And she keeps walking. And I'm just like, "I wasn't kidding, ma'am. You need to wear a mask in our store." She finally gets up to the counter and I step back like about 10 feet and I'm just like, "Ma'am, I'm not going to help you unless you wear a mask." So finally she just scoffs and she looks back at her husband and says, "Give me your mask." So he hands her his mask and then he leaves the store.
Oh, Jesus.
So I know. Whoosh. But so now she's
Well,
wearing the
not just
mask
that, but, like, gross.
and she pulls out a toy from one of the black bags and it's a toy that we sold her a month ago.
Ew.
She puts it on the counter and she says, "This stopped working." I was like, "I'm sorry." And she goes, "Well, I want to return it and I want to get a new one." And I was like, "Okay, when'd you buy it?" She said, "Oh, I bought it about a month ago and it stopped working after the 5th use." And I was like, ma'am, we don't do returns or exchanges, especially for toys that are used." "Well, then what am I supposed to do about it?" And I just went, "You can buy a new one, or you can contact the company who made the toy, because it was a
Right.
toy that had a warranty. If she had actually bought it within the month, which I find highly unlikely, by the way, if she had actually bought it within the month, she still had a warranty with it. And when you get, here's real quick to our listeners, if you get a toy at a store that has a warranty on it, do not contact the store that sold it to you. Instead, on the box, you will find either a website or contact information, and you go to that website or contact information, they will honor that warranty as long as you have the receipt.
Well, that's like most things that you buy.
Yeah.
You buy
Yeah.
it and you open up the box and they always have a flyer or something in there that says, "Do not return to retailer. Call
Hmm.
this number."
Exactly. So I try telling her this, and she just gets stark raving mad. So now I have to walk with her around the store to help her find a new vibrator. And I was like, "Okay, what exactly are you looking for?" "Something that vibrates."
We have lots of those.
"Okay. Do you want clitoral or G spot?" She says, "Something under $25." I was like, "Okay, so that's going to be a bullet vibrator." So I bring her to the bullets, and she ends up buying one that's like $40. Because, like I said, we try our best not to sell cheap shit. Even though to her, I was almost more than willing. But, so she throws it on the counter as I'm trying to get everything going. I test it in front of her. I ask her, I was like, "Would you like this to be tested to make sure it works?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think I would. Wouldn't want this to happen again." "Okay, ma'am." So I test out the toy. I make sure it works perfectly. I put it back in the box. I ring it all up. And she just, I guess it was in an act of defiance and spite, she just rips her mask off and slams it on the counter. And I look at her and I pause completely in what I'm doing. I haven't fully made the sale yet. And I'm just staring at her. And I'm like, "Ma'am, if you do not put your mask back on, I am going to stop the sale and I'm going to ask you to leave." She smirks at me. And then she just picks up her mask and starts inspecting it like she's counting the stitches that was used to make it. And I'm just staring at her, and I think she realizes that I'm very serious because we take the protocols very seriously at our store. So she finally looks at me, she goes, "Ugh," and she puts it back on, and I finish the sale. And I was like, "Alrighty, ma'am, you have yourself a wonderful day." And she goes, "Yeah, okay, you go fuck yourself." And she leaves, and I looked at my coworker and I was like, "But she didn't tell me with what."
Outstanding.
That would have been so much better if you'd have just asked her with what.
I
So,
wanted to, but she wouldn't shut the fuck up as she was leaving. So I was like,
Ask her
it would have been
2
unheard.
photos. With what?
how many different ways did you kill her in your mind during this whole inner
We have
interaction?
gigantic 10-inch double-ended dildos that are about 5 inches wide, and I was thinking of all the ways to attach one of those to a spear and beat her with it. So
Awesome.
about 40 different ways, if I'm being honest. But hey, that's customer service for you.
There you
Yep.
go. So, Sarah, is there
That's
anything that you'd
rule
like to
number
add?
1, don't be a cunt.
Yeah.
Don't be a cunt. Please. Please,
Sarah,
please,
is there
please,
anything
please,
you
please, please, please.
is there anything you want from Bailey before we let her go?
Yeah, so I think I just have, sorry, I guess the 2 questions that I have are really just for our listeners,
Hmm.
um, kind of just general knowledge stuff to help them, your expertise. So, what are, like, the most, I guess, popular questions? What are the most asked questions?
Ooh.
Like, if you just
Um,
said pick 1 or 2.
Aside from, "Do you have this product in stock?" Um, one of the most asked questions I get is, "What is the difference between a water-based and a silicone-based lubricant?"
Okay,
And what I usually say is that silicone is meant to only be used on glass, metal, and skin.
okay,
Because if you use silicone on silicone, it degrades.
right.
So, a lot of times, if you are in a store and you are buying a silicone based toy and you have a silicone based lubricant, if the person's actually doing their job correctly, they will look at you and say, if you're planning on using this lubricant on the toy, it will degrade. Would you prefer to have a water-based so that you can use the toy longer and avoid
Right.
infections? So definitely that one. Always make sure that you are putting your health before your pleasure. So there's that one. And I'd say the other one would be probably, I've been with this person for so long. How do I know I'm still pleasing them? I actually give out a lot of sex advice as well as selling the products, which I think is
Hey,
very interesting.
That
But
is
I think that
great.
would be,
a lot of a lot
that'd
of
be something that
times,
that job would do.
oh yeah, a lot of times I'd say that I am the person who sells the most fetish items because I'm very well versed in that particular dynamic in BDSM. A lot of times a gentleman or a woman will come up to me and they'll say, I've been with my husband slash wife slash partner for this many years. We want to spice up our relationship. What is the best way to start? And me be having gone through sub craze and having gone through this is a whole new world and I'm going to go crazy with it. I always say put your safety first because scars are going to last you a whole lot longer than the pleasure is. So you need to be sure that you are being careful. I would suggest baby steps.
That is
And
some sage advice.
I would also
Agreed.
suggest a long conversation with your partner to decide what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, and use a goddamn safe word. Please.
Yes.
For the love of everything holy and for the love of Odin himself, use a safe word.
And also, as importantly, respect the safe word.
Also, as
Absolutely.
importantly, respect the safe word. Also, as importantly, the safe word is not just for the sub.
No, not at all.
Exactly. If the Dom uses the safe word, respect that shit.
Yep.
So that's basically the main two questions is how do I spice up my relationship safely and what's the best lubricant to use for certain products.
Okay.
My biggest thing when it comes to working at the store is always keep your hygiene and your health in mind because your anatomy, your sexual parts of your body are sensitive and they're sensitive for a reason. You need to take care
Mm-hmm.
of them. You need to learn what you're using. You need to learn your own body, what you're sensitive against, and what you like. Because a lot of, I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody say, no, 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 I've had one bad experience with that particular material and I'll never use it again. And it's like, did you actually have a bad experience or did you use the bad product with another bad product?
Right.
That's a
People
lot
don't
of
know that
times.
well enough.
Exactly. A lot of people did the exploration, but they didn't do it correctly. So,
So
my
I think that
final
kind
sage
of
advice, my final stage advice would be when you are searching for a toy, be it for you, for your partner, or for both of you, keep a very sound mind that even if it doesn't work out, be willing to try again. Because just because one didn't work, there's a whole plethora of others.
I
And
like it.
I tell you what, Sarah, I don't know about you, but I've learned a lot talking to Bailey today, and
No, it's been fantastic, and she
That makes
answered
me
my other
happy.
question.
yeah, I
Actually,
think I,
What was your
I
other
think our
question?
my other question was just like what were the most important things that a person should know
Hygiene and health.
or think about before buying a sex toy? And I think you nailed them right there. Keeping your health and your hygiene in mind, knowing your body,
Hmm.
knowing what you like before you go in. Um and oh, what the hell did you just say? You just said something amazing, and then I was gonna, like, say something awesome after it, and then Seth came in, and now it's gone.
Oh, the
oof.
part where if you're exploring and something
Yes,
doesn't
yeah,
work out,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. Yeah, don't be afraid to try again if, you know
Never be afraid to try again. If a bullet didn't work for you, try a butterfly.
Because like we talked
If
about,
or
yeah,
try a different bullet.
Exactly. If a warming lubricant didn't work for you, just try the normal water-based. There is nothing wrong with basic.
And don't be afraid to talk to the person at the sex shop.
And
Please talk to
also,
them. They're a wealth of knowledge.
And also, do not be afraid to talk to your partner, and also realize the store worker is not your partner.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't know what their vagina looks like. We don't know how big their dick is. We don't know what they like unless they come into the store and tell us.
And shop with your partner.
Exactly.
Make it
Please,
an
unless you're getting a
experience.
surprise for
Well,
them
yeah,
that you know they're going to like, please, please, please bring your partner into the store so it can be a group discussion.
exactly.
Outstanding.
I love it.
So,
Oh my
Bailey,
gosh,
thank
babe.
you. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so
Thank you
great. I
for
hope our
having me.
listeners learned so much, and I know they did.
I gotta say it was definitely an honor to be invited onto this. I
No,
never thought that
that's
my
great.
career would take me this far. I loved
Yes,
it. I had a great time.
you're on a random podcast with two people.
Honestly, I've reached peak success in my life.
Yes. So before we get out of here, we're going to do the obligatory pimp ourselves out. But before we do that,
Yeah.
again, thank you so much, Bailey. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you to our producer, Franklin, and
I'm
our
glad.
great musician, Bradley Arl, for our amazing theme music.
Barn.
And yes, if you'd love to interact with the show, because we still do have that breakup episode coming.
we
you
do.
could,
We do. We have all of the stories ready.
Yeah, unless you want to add some more, and you can by
Yeah.
emailing us at sethandsarahpodcast@gmail.com.
And if
You
you
could
want
do-
to hear from me again, I'm kidding.
Hey,
No,
we'd love
and
to
that's
have you back,
absolutely
Bailey.
true.
Anytime.
So I'm not gonna lie, Seth, Bailey, if you guys are up for it, I would love a Q&A.
Absolutely.
So
I love
if any of our
Q&As.
listeners have questions for Bailey, I think it would be great to have listener questions and have Bailey back to answer them.
Absolutely. So Bailey,
Yes,
the invitation's
please.
out there. We're Q&A. You could send those questions to our Twitter and Instagram at In the Sack Pod, or our Facebook page. Look up In the Sack with Seth and Sarah. But until that next time, talking about breakups and a future Q&A with Bailey. Hey, until we see you once again, In the Sack.
With Seth and Sarah.